Greetings, R. Frederick Riddle here, and welcome to Becoming a Published Author is Fun, where I give tips, advice, and ideas that you can use now. This podcast is brought to you by TNR Independent Books, located at trbookservices.com. So let's begin this new year. And that's exactly what we are doing. This is a new year. And so we have a whole new, actually, if you've been with me before, you're already seeing something different. I have a different studio. Changed it around a little bit, and I like it. I hope you like it. But anyhow, we have a new studio, and some of the things are going to be familiar to you, but even the formatting of this might be a little different than in the past. One of the things I am keeping the same is I'm still going with the whiteboard. I think that the whiteboard is something that is very helpful, and I want to continue with that. And so what we want to do, so there we go. So let's see, make that just a little bit. There we go. There, that's better. Now, as you can see, becoming a published author is fun. That's the title of this podcast. And as always, I refer you to podcast 8. No other number other than zeros in front of it, just 8. 008. And in that one, I talk about why it is fun. We are now in episode 25001. Next year, I'm making some assumptions here that we're going to continue on. And so next year will be 26001 and so forth. So today's topic is renewal, which I think is very apropos for the time of year. What do you do when New Year's comes along aside from celebrating? You quite often make resolutions, New Year's resolutions. And there's an old saying about New Year's resolutions. Wait 2 weeks, and then forget about it because they're gone. You've already broken them. They're history. Well, we want to do better than that. And so, one of the things I think that's very important is what we're going to talk about today. So, we are in the new year, 2025. Well, the very first thing we want to do is check last year. Now, actually, if you were really on top of the game, you should have started doing this in December. I did. I started looking at things last month. And this new format, that's when I came up with the idea for this new format. And so this we want to look at what we did, our successes and our failures. It's very important. You can actually build not only on your successes, you can build on your failures. How do you do that? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. Because what we want to do is we want to build on this. But first of all, back here to the check last year. Here's what I think you should do. And it's up to you how you do it. I'm just giving you ideas. Make a list. It can be one sheet of paper and 2 lists on that sheet of paper, or a different sheet for each list. In any case, one list will be your successes. And hopefully you got a lot of them. But whether you got a few or a lot, write them down. And if you think there's some highlights within that, the item of a success, write those down too. Then that would be on one list. Your second list would be your failures. Again, write them down. And within them, if there's some important items that you have learned about them, write them down. Well, then what you do is you go back and go item by item and zoom in on them and find out why was it a success or why was it a failure, and write them down. If you already got them written down, then you don't have to do it again. But if this is something you haven't already seen, write it down. Now, when you get that whole list done, you're going to have a sort of not a plan of action, because this all is in the past. But you got front of you a visualization of what took place last year. And now you can take and say, okay, for successes, I'm going to build on that. Failures, there's some things here I can do, or maybe I got to learn to do. And then I can build on those new things, those new ideas that will help turn those losses, those failures into successes. And once you've done that part, then you can move forward and start doing the things that need to be done for this year. So here's how you're going to do that. You build on it. What can you do? What can you do? That's very important. What can you do? You can also say this. What can't I do? Or you do. The difference there is an apostrophe and a T. The failures will be what you could not do. And you look at it and you're going to try to identify them. And that's what goes in on that list. So you're going to make two lists, the successes and the failures. And the first question you have is, I should actually have this up as what can I do? Because since it's you're going to be the one doing it. But what can I do? And then put over here or below it what you can or cannot do. And when you do that, it's going to really highlight them in your mind. Now, you may not come up with a solution area. You might come up with one that's a problem area, and you're scratching your head wondering, what am I going to do about that? Well, if you can't do anything right now, then you leave it, but put it on your list. Because eventually, as you go forward and you keep seeing that and thinking about it, there's a good chance that you're going to come up with an idea that you're going to at least try. And you keep trying and trying until something works. And then once that thing is no longer a failure and is actually a positive, you can move that over to your positive list. And so that's one of the things you want to do. And that's a project, really something you can do all year. I'm going to start that kind of list myself. I haven't been doing this. This is a new idea that I've had. I wanted to share it with you because I think that when we do that, we can focus on what is important. One of the things that is very we can get caught in the weeds if we're not careful. We focus on the failures, for instance. And all you see is failure. But that's not the right way to do it. You see that word failure, and then you say, why? Why did it fail? And start writing those things down. It may take you time. I'm not talking about sitting down 5 minutes later, you got your list done. This is an ongoing project, and if something fails, ask yourself why. I had some failures last year, and I've wondered, why? Why did that fail? And that's going to be one of my projects, is to dig deeper, find out why. Sometimes that means just going in and looking at the stats for your sales or your lack of sales, maybe your advertising and things of this nature, and trying to find and then draw out these items that are either promoting you or pulling you down. And so this listing idea is something you can do starting right now. Well, okay, you come up with an idea. You say, okay, this is something I did successfully. Well, how did I do it? This is what I did and I failed at. Well, how did I do that? What was it I did? When did I do it? Or when am I going to start working on this correction? And then these are things that are going to be, like I said, ongoing all throughout the year. You want to get started doing it now. And so it shouldn't take you, I'm not talking about spending hours each day on it. I'm talking about a few minutes. And then you put it aside. Make it a habit. of taking a look at it and just saying, okay, this is my project. I mean, you can make a project for that week or that month or something that you want to focus on. That's totally up to you. I'm just saying that you want to be able to identify what it was, how you did it or didn't do it, and when you did and when you didn't do it. Maybe your timing was wrong. You may have to do your timing better. Well, now here's a crazy problem. You say, okay, I understand that aspect, but how am I going to do that? I look at it. How am I going to find out how those things happen? How am I going to learn how to correct it or to improve it? Well, one thing, I give tips throughout the year here on this podcast. That's a resource, by the way. I also I always encourage you to use the internet, and I even have tips on that, how to use the internet. I've done that in the past. I'll continue to do that in the future. We come down to resources, and there are a variety of resources out there that you can and should investigate. Now, before you actually use them, investigate, because some of them out there are, in my opinion, kind of spammy. Some of them are good. I have used some in which I liked some of the stuff they had. I did not like the other, and I stayed away from it. One of those subjects I'm very alert on is AI, artificial intelligence. I will give you tips on that, the pros and the cons. And AI is spreading throughout not only the literary world, but the whole world itself. But we're going to focus on the literary world, including the advertising and so forth. Can you use AI in your advertising? Should you? Should you not? What are the pros and cons? And those are kinds of things that I will touch on because I want to know. And when I learn something, I'm going to try to pass it on to you. I will also incorporate my course. I have a course. One of the resources I offer is a course in which goes much deeper than this podcast. This podcast is free. The course is not, obviously. But the course, you will be able to dig deeper, learn more, apply it, and get your book written. If you haven't written it already, you'll get your book written. And with that, by the way, comes a guaranteed package of getting published. You don't have to take it. Yeah, you get your book done, and you look at that package, and you say, well, no, I'm going to go with somebody else. That's your choice. But if you stay and take that package, there's no extra cost. And also we throw in a marketing for a very small fee, and it's actually buried in the author's cost. That's how small it is. And it's a very small fee, goes there. You recoup it because your customers, when they buy your book, are actually paying you for the author's fees that you paid. And so you're getting reimbursed for that. And so the customer is actually paying for the marketing. Another thing I offer is a service called ministry publishing. Ministry publishing is if you're a Christian, you've been born again, you've asked Jesus Christ to be your Savior. You may not dot your I's and cross your T's like me, but you're a Christian. Well, I'm interested in you. I'm interested in having you as my client. And so I have some criteria, and when you go in and you start to learn about the different the course and the service, those are things that will pop up, the different criteria. Not very many of them. I keep it pretty wide open because I want you to have, I want Christians, such as yourself, to have the opportunity of getting published, putting their work out there without breaking the bank. Now, I already mentioned that this podcast itself is a tool. And I think it's a very important tool because, first of all, it's free. And secondly, I give you tips on different things. And if you want, in the comments below, you can always say, could you talk about this? I'm learning about this thing, but I don't know very much about it. Could you talk about it? And I will consider that. I'll take a look at it. I'll see if that's something that's worth my time. If it's worth your time, then there's a good possibility it's worth my time. And so I'm a tool. Think of it that way. The R. Frederick Riddle is a tool that you can use. Becoming a published author is fun, is a tool. And then in that podcast, in this podcast, I provide you additional tools. I encourage you. I give you different ways of handling different things, and I use the whiteboard, and you can take it and you can play it back as often as you want, take notes, whatever. And so there are different tools out on the internet. Like I said before, investigate before you invest, because you can get the wrong tool and it will lead you in the wrong way, and you could end up spending a lot of money on something that you never um, would have done if you had known it was going to do that. And since you're a Christian, you already have a tool available to you, not provided by me, but provided by the Lord Himself. It's called prayer. Prayer is nothing more than you having an ability to talk to God about any problem you face. Will He give you the answer that you want to hear? Not always, because you and I, we are frail. We are faulty. We have a sin nature. Even though we're saved, we still have that sin nature. And so we're going to make mistakes. We're going to look at the wrong thing. We're going to focus on the wrong thing. God, though, knows what He wants for your life. And He will give you, He will tell you through His Word, through the preaching of His Word, from other Christians and so forth. You'll get feedback from Him. It may come from multiple sources, or it may be direct from Him to you. In any case, He will communicate it to you and help you. That's why when I talk to people about my course or my service, I don't push it. I give it an opportunity for it, and I anticipate they're going to pray. If they're Christians, they're going to pray about it. If you're not a Christian, well, you're still welcome to take this, watch this podcast and everything, and apply the tools. But not all tools are going to work for you because they require a relationship with Jesus Christ. But I'll talk to anybody. So if you're not a Christian, I pray that you will become one. But in the meantime, you can use any information I put out here, or at least try. Like I said, some of it is aimed at Christians, and it's based on the fact that you have a God who not only loves you and has saved you, but He has a plan for your life. So those are my two tools I put out there for you. That one called Fast Track, but it's part of ministry publishing. So there's other tools. AI itself is a tool, and you don't want it to control you. You need to be in control of it. I talk about that. I talk about character building. I talk about everything that has to do with writing. I talk about it at one point or another. And so this is what I wanted to get across to you today, is that we have an opportunity to refocus, to get re-energized, and get moving again. If you had a failure last year, put it behind you. Study it, learn from it, but go past it. Don't let it stop you. If God called you to write, you may hit bumps in the road, but He is always there, and He's waiting for you to ask, to come to Him, and to ask Him. And He might direct you to somebody like myself or somebody else, but He will give you that opportunity. He'll provide some kind of opportunity for you to get over that bump and to go forward with it. If He didn't call you to write, then He might correct you and tell you, no, this is what I want you to do. But if He called you to write, He's going to enable you, and already has enabled you, and now you just need to activate those enabling powers, if you will. So check last year, then build on it by asking yourself questions. What did I do right, and what did I do wrong? How did I do it? When did I do it? And you can ask yourself some other questions as well. And then finally, in doing this, use your resources. And the internet is a very valuable resource I encourage you to use. Just keep your eyes open And if you find somebody who you respect out there that's giving you information that you think is usable, then follow it. And I'm telling you, this is a little additional information. In my early days of writing, I listened to this person, I listened to this person, I listened to this person. Wasn't all in agreement. Guess what happened? I'm running in place, not going anywhere. I did this in business, other business ventures. I learned it the hard way. You've got to find a source that you can rely upon, depend upon. You need a coach, which, by the way, I coach. I have a coach. Why do I have a coach? Because I believe when I convey to you that you need a coach, I have one finger pointing at you and I got three pointing at me. We all need a coach. It's just simple as that. It's no matter how far you go in this business, you need somebody will mentor you. Yeah, somebody you can go to and say, scratch your head. I'm scratching my head on this problem. What? Sometimes it's so obvious we don't see it, and your coach can point it out. Sometimes it's something that he's seen or she has seen that is totally different than what you were aware of, and the light comes on. So get yourself a coach. Again, this podcast, this is probably the most advertising you're ever going to see on this podcast, is that I publish, I coach, I teach. And those are things, and also I encourage you, because when you come into this, my business, you get into the course and the ministry, we become acquainted with one another. We start to learn more about one another, and we become friends. And that's really what it should be. Whoever you go with the coaching, you want to be able to have a friendly relationship with them. You want to be on the same page as much as possible. So that is pretty much it for today. So what I want you to do, by the way, I offer you the opportunity to subscribe down at the bottom of this podcast right down here, and you can subscribe, and that way I do two podcasts. I do this one, Becoming a Published Author is Fun. I do another one called Christian News and Views. Both two different topics, really, both Christian, but other than that, they're both different. And you can get them both simply by subscribing to my channel, and it will come. The way I understand it, it comes to your channel. That's the way it works with me. I subscribe to somebody, and I get their stuff on my channel. So that being the case, I'm gonna move this out of my way for a minute here. So just last bit of information. To learn more about Basic Authors Training, or BAT, Ministry Publishing, or MP, or Fast Track, go to the link that I have provided, and then click on the service icon. That's a little picture there that I have put. Click on that, one of your choice, and there you can request more information. Just simply fill out your name, your email information, and then I'll get it, and I'll send it along to you. You can also order the service on your own without going this route. I would advise you get in contact with me, because you may have questions, and find out questions. But if you want to go directly to it, and I'm not going to, that's up to you. But just make sure you understand exactly what's involved, so that the more you learn, the better it is. I'm not out here like these other guys to just take your money. I want you to be a success. I want you to succeed, to be a published author. Get your books out there. So that is it for today, and I will see you in the next episode.